Chapter 69. Galatea and Astrid held onto my cloak as I pushed through the endless thick darkness that filled the lower end of the DC universe, even with a concrete location and a sympathetic anchor in Klarion and the Wrath of Trigon in a demon hybrid named Jared. I was swiftly developing a dislike for traveling outside of the Fey paths and inside the areas of the DC universe's underbelly that was the host of the eldritch and forgotten evils, which was exactly where we were. Jake, what happens if I step off the path you are creating and into the creepy-as-hell swirling darkness surrounding us? Galatea sarcastically asked, and I snorted. I made sure to hold on to Galatea in my arms, making her grunt in surprise at my act. I cannot know, as we are surrounded by the chaos of the weight of the universe's light pushing down upon and compressing the darkness into spatial storms. At best I could find you if you didn't get swept out too far, or a much more likely event is you getting thrown into some parallel timeline, and I will never find the right you. I spoke solemnly, and both of the girls didn't make any more jokes. Alright, so Astrid, you help Galatea, and if you can, kill Clarion's demonic cat, as it's his anchor to reality, and although we aren't in true reality now, his anchor dying will severely weaken him. I spoke to Astrid as I felt demonic energies pushing against my path and knew I was getting closer to Trigon's realms. Yes, my lord, I shall strike from the shadows and take the cur's head in your name, Astrid spoke reverently as she sunk into Galatea's shadow in preparation to launch a surprise attack on Klarion or his familiar tinkle. Galatea's hand strengthened on my arm as she coughed to get my attention. So, Jake, do I need to worry about you using Astrid for a... what's the word, pocket puss or something? Galatea asked me pointedly, and my face twitched as I had definitely taken note in Astrid's beauty, and my herald fairy was more than willing to warm my bed, as it were. For a moment I was about to deny it, but then I saw Galatea's look of amusement and I shrugged. Maybe. Or perhaps if you are feeling tired one of these nights you can give me a handy by using her. I offered, and Galatea burst into laughter at the thought. Galatea's shadow quaked as if it was shaking in embarrassment, funnily enough. Alright, that's enough jokes. We are here, I said, dropping my genial smile and the perverted thoughts as with a flourish of light we broke through the darkness surrounding my path in all directions. Was hell? Well, a more stereotypical depiction of hell rather than the actual hell of the DC universe. There was no sky, merely a cave-like roof with bright boiling lava pouring out in some points to light up the surroundings as it cascaded downwards towards the ground. Damn, it's boiling hot in here, Galatea complained, pulling at her white jumpsuit, and she was right, as Trigon's hell dimension was swelteringly hot, at least in the part we were in. Let's just get this over with and we can leave, I said, pointing at the ominous black evil-looking tower in the distance. We quickly flew over towards the tower, and I painfully ignored the desire to kill every little demonic life form I came across as we made our way over the hellscape until we eventually landed in front of the tower. Let me ring the doorbell, I said as I pointed a finger at the large evil-looking tower, and with a screech of spiritual energy roaring to life, I created a powerful condensed Ciro Oscuras that glowed ominously with my purple spiritual energy. With a mental thought, I stopped preventing my Ciro from flying off, and thus the ultra-condensed ball of explosive spiritual energy screamed its fury as it tore through the brimstone-smelling air before it collided with the tower, creating a cataclysmic explosion. You got Klarion. I will take Wrath. I spoke lowly with almost a growl as I flexed my hands and felt my arrow-covered fingers grinding against one another before, with a mad grin, I felt with my pesquisa my prey, and I dashed forwards in a sonido. Die, Jared! I roared as I stabbed my arrow-covered fingers straight into the throat of the massive 8-foot-tall ultramuscular demon. Even as I felt the demon hybrid's throat give way under my knife-hand stabbing motion, I felt a great congregating of demonic energies, and I cringed as I heard a voice yell. Azarath Mitrian Zinthos. I was then smashed with a massive hammer made seemingly out of pure darkness, but I could feel the spatial and demonic magic taint within it. I was smashed through several walls before I managed to reorient myself in the air with a snarl, but as I saw Raven or Rachel Roth, I faltered, allowing a billboard sign-sized hand of her magic to slap me through another series of walls as I reined in my thought to just pluck her heart out as her demonic blood sang to me. Enough! I roared. I quickly used a series of sonidos to speed my way back, and as Jared the demon hybrid finally got his breath back, I kicked him in the back of the head, burying him into the ground before I began repeatedly stomping his head into the stone floor of the tower remains. Get off of him! Raven yelled as she sent a massive raven-made-out darkness at me to seemingly knock me off her brother, but I merely reached down and grabbed the back of Jared's shirt and used his body to shatter Raven's magical construct before slamming his form back into the ground. Go to sleep, Raven. I spoke as I flashed behind Raven, and unlike her siblings, she had only a slighter, more durable humanoid physique which allowed me to slap her in the throat, making her choke and be unable to chant her magic or focus it. Shoo, no more following Demon Daddy's rule, I said as I put Raven into a headlock after securing her arms, preventing her from making the motions to cast her magic, and she could only struggle for a couple minutes before she passed out on me. Get off her. You have no idea who you are messing with, do you? I heard Jared the Wrath of Trigon growl at me as he staggered back to his feet, and even as I looked out into the hellscape and saw Galatea taking advantage of being much more mobile than Klarion as she punched him around and carefully dodged all his chaos magic blasts. I thought I killed you already. Pity for you, I am not some mortal you can age with a touch. I said as I dropped Raven to the ground as I used a sonido to flash into a kick that shattered Jared's jaw and sent his teeth everywhere as his head snapped back to the side at the force of the kick. Should have just played dead little monsters. I hissed as I grabbed him by his hair. With a loud crunch I leaned forward, and with my hierro-coated jaws I ripped his throat out as his durability was getting annoying. Cack. Jared coughed and gurgled as I tore out his throat, and then, with my bloodthirst quite literally sated, I threw his bleeding out form onto the ground and then stomped on his throat with all my might as the demon went to cover his blood-gushing throat with his hands, and then a loud cracking sound rang out as I finally managed to snap his neck with the stomp, making the demon stiffen as his arms fell to the ground. A loud sonido rang out as I appeared behind Klarion when he was flying at Galatea with a solid massive mace made out of chaos magic that he was obviously trying to smash her with, but as I appeared behind him, I instantly wrapped my arms under his and locking them behind his neck. This is for being an annoyance and shielding those fucks. I hissed as I blasted a Zero beneath my feet as I pivoted in the air, and the explosion sent us both at insane speed straight at the ground, but I had locked myself like half a foot behind Klarion, so when we collided into the ground, I did a poor man's lotus and used Clarion's head to drill into the hard stone of hell, sending stone chips flying everywhere before the momentum was lost and I moved away from Clarion's form. I was going to kill your damned girlfriend before getting to you, but I can take both of you. I am Klarion the Witch Boy, and this isn't Earth, you little pissant. Klarion roared as his head easily snapped into place when he rolled to the side. I smacked you around like the unwanted stepchild you were last time. What will be different this time? The weakest of the Choice Lords, and is the crony of a pathetic immortal who hides in the shadows and hasn't managed to actually rule Earth in 40,000 years. I said tauntingly before I continued. If the Master is such an incompetent coward, what does that make you for serving him? I finished, and Clarion's dark eyes snapped blood red with glowing lava-like slits as he teleported or seemingly phased through reality next to me, and a car-sized mallet made out of chaos magic slammed down upon me. But this time was different. A shield of conceptual green wind appeared around me like a shell, and I wordlessly met Clarion's eyes before I smiled and spoke softly like the spring winds that followed me. I am not the same man you fought last time. Before Klarion could react, I sent a wind-covered knife hand into his chest and ripped out his corrupted black heart that bled black with glowing red streaks blood as I squished it in my hand. I don't even care about your familiar Klarion. I am going to take my time breaking you. I am going to make you refuse to reform and stay dead for millennium out of sheer fear of me hunting you down again. I said, blocking a chaos-coated magic fist with my arms before stepping back to kick a blade of wind at Klarion that bisected him before he could react.